years ago, university students took to the streets, demanding free education. Last year, former President Jacob Zuma announced that government would offer free higher education for poor and working class students. As we commemorate Youth Month, we ask what happened to some of the activists who fought for free education.
I've secured a criminal record due to fighting for just cause, It was not out of, deliberate crime.
If I'm found guilty, they say there won't be any option of a fine. I'll serve less than 3 years.
There has been a great impact because now I'm not studying due to funding, and last year I couldn't even write my exams in time because on the same day I had exams, I had to appear in court.
It's Saturday morning in the Cegeshe household. The family is up early in anticipation of their visit to Leoko prison, north of Johannesburg, where their 24-year-old son, Konya, is serving a 5-year jail term.
I miss the way he laughs. I miss, I miss having chats with him.
In 2016, Konya was a first-year student at a private college in Braamfontein, where he was studying media law.
And then the fees must fall came up towards the end of that year, and I think he felt strongly to be a part of it as well, even though he wasn't studying at FET. I think especially. Yeah, I think especially considering the fact that the previous year he wanted to be part of UJ OVETS and it just didn't work out. And at the time, as the parents, we also could not afford to pay VETS fees or UJ fees at the time. So I think when the fees must fall started, it triggered something in him, and he got involved.
On the 25th of October 2016, a police car was burnt in Braamfontein. The following day, police arrived with a handcuffed Konya at his home.
According to them, they were saying they want his clothes that he was wearing the previous day because there were cars that were burnt in town when the entire protest broke out. And my husband said, "No, it's fine. Can you please show us your search warrant? Do you have a search warrant?" And they said, "No, we don't have a search warrant, but this can't wait. This is urgent. We need to find evidence that he's the one who was there. And this evidence is in his room. We believe it's in his room." That's what they said. So we both refused. We said, "No, we can't. You can't gain access to Konya's room. You need to understand that this is Konya's home. It's not his house. So if you don't have a search warrant, you need to go and get one and come back." So they refused to leave. So my husband got on the phone, called his friend. His friend is a lawyer.
The family says hours later there was still no search warrant. Instead, more police arrived and allegedly got violent when Konya's mother recorded what was unfolding.
They beat me up, big time, like I was on the floor, and they were kicking me. And my husband, Konya, was standing right there and he was watching. And he was screaming. He was like, "Daddy, Daddy, they're going to kill Mom." And Daddy came out of the house running. As he came out around the corner, some of these policemen, I think about 5 of them, went to him and they punched him in the face. and he fell to the ground. I mean, I could see what was happening. I mean, I was on the floor, I was trying to protect myself. I could see him trying to come and rescue me from these guys, but anyway, so he couldn't, and then they got me up. They handcuffed me, and they said, we are arresting you for obstruction of justice. This is the day that fears must fall. Actually, this is the day that I experienced police brutality.
She says she and her son were taken to Hillbrow police station and detained. Days later, she was released, and after 6 months, her case was dropped. However, Konya was charged with public violence and malicious damage to property. In this CCTV footage, a person is seen holding a bottle, moving towards the police car. A little while later, we see flames. Then he closes the door and runs away. Police believed that this person is Konya, but according to his previous lawyer, Konya never set the vehicle alight. His current lawyer denies that he even got close to the van. In December last year, Konya was sentenced to 8 years imprisonment, of which 3 were suspended.
We were shocked because we believed in the legal representation that Konya had. We never thought that it was gonna be so harsh, the sentencing. And considering the fact that he's a first-time offender, he's never ever done anything that got him into trouble with law before, ever in his life. We just felt like 8 years is just ridiculous.
Konya's absence is sorely felt. His room remains untouched, ready for when he comes back home. In the house, Konya's siblings, Kanyisile and Kalipile, have kept a Christmas tree that they won't remove. They say they cannot wait for their older brother to return. We followed the family as they made their drive to Lyoko prison to visit Konya. Due to the immense support Konya gets from activists, the visits during the month are split between the family and students who would like to see him. The family says Konya is in medium B section, where he voluntarily teaches English to fellow inmates. His mother says her spirits are lifted whenever she visits him.
Konya is doing well. He's doing well. I guess he's doing well under the circumstances. Yeah, he's fine. He looks fine. He looks healthy, except a bit of flu. But he generally he's okay. He's coping.
After the Fees Must Fall movement, some student activists and their families are paying a heavy price. Konya Tagesha is one of them. He's serving a 5-year prison term.
I worry about my son. Honestly, I thought that he will be out by now. I just didn't think that this entire process is going to take so long.
There have been sustained campaigns for Konya's release. Activists also question what they consider as his harsh sentence. A new legal team has stepped in to review his matter.
Okay. So basically his role...
Even when I spoke to Konya, he said he didn't do it. And we asked how it got to be that he got sentenced to 8 years. He said no, he pleaded guilty. We asked him why, and he said no, because of what happened when the cops got to his house. Even me, I can't make sense of it. Because in my belief, I may sound racist also, but if Konya was of a different race, was a white person, Konya wouldn't have gotten that sentence. Maybe he was going to get community service. Because him getting eight years for fighting for what's right, for being part of a protest, it's illicit. Even as a country that says we got a democracy through protest, and to take a young man, a future leader and throw him in jail. It's quite unfair.
Professor Nur Niftakhuddin was among a number of academics who supported the students' demands and struggles. He's concerned about the decrease in support for the students who are facing legal challenges.
Those students who are facing charges and who have been sentenced in various ways are isolated. It's as if nothing has happened, and therefore even attempts by our academics and other people to get, lawyers, progressive lawyers involved, NGO law firms involved, that hasn't been sustained either. So I think that there is a problem. It's as if these students were fighting on their own. It's as if they were not part of a much bigger movement.
The Fees Must Fall movement was a call for free decolonized education. On some campuses, this included protests for Afrikaans to be scrapped as a language of teaching. This was also intertwined with protests for the outsourcing of university workers to stop. Amos Munacheng, better known as Amla, was at the forefront of these protests at the University of Pretoria. He's a computer science student from Mpumalanga who firmly believes that tertiary education provides an escape from poverty.
I told myself that coming to university, of course I have to ensure that I reach my objectives, but at the same time I should be the voice of those who are like me, who are coming from the poor families, who couldn't reach because of the poverty.
However, his activism led to him being in his current situation. He's under house arrest.
I remember when I got arrested, it was after a night vigil that was very successful, that was, that had enough numbers to can continue with the struggle. In the morning of it, we were going to Princehof to go and raise consciousness to say that the movement is not dead, we are continuing. That's when I got arrested. Apparently there was a warrant of arrest, but it was never presented. We did not know about it. We believe that it was simply because of the role that I played within, the movement, within the organization, to say that if we get rid of him, perhaps it will demoralize the other, comrades.
His charges included public violence, the kidnapping of a bus driver, and assault with intent to do grievous bodily harm. He insists that these charges were fabricated.
Even the students can attest that during any protest, there was no way that I can participate in beating the students, because of my role was to marshal the students. My role was to negotiate whenever they are negotiating, to give the directives. There was no way that even at once I was involved in a fight.
He says that for a year he was in and out of courts. There were many postponements with new evidence and witnesses constantly being brought forward. This led to a mini trial. Eventually he entered into a plea bargain that resulted in his house arrest. He is only allowed to go to work and campus on weekdays, as he has started studying again, and to go out only for community service. Alcohol and committing an offense are forbidden.
I continue to console myself to say that I'm not the first one to be subjected to this. There are those who came before us, who fought during the apartheid, who were subjected to the house arrest.
This turn of events has put his future in jeopardy.
You know that many company policies, they don't want anyone with criminal record. And at the moment, I do have a criminal record. However, as an activist, I'm certain that, it is only white establishments that will reject us, and it is only white establishments that won't understand that I've secured a criminal record due to fighting for just cause. It was not out of, deliberate crime,
Her outspokenness, social conscience, and a family history of activism combined to inspire Ionela Ngaleka to join the Fees Must Fall movement. Due to this former Wits University student's case, her attorney wanted to be present for the interview at her office. Yonela says one day during the protests, they went to Braamfontein. They sang and blocked traffic.
I had moved stones and branches into the road as part of what we were doing as a collective. So at about 4 o'clock I went home because I travel, so I cannot be on campus after 4 o'clock. I went home and I arrived at home at about past 6 to 7. When we switched on the news, it was live that the students had now burnt a police car and there had been updates on what has been happening, the situation on campus.
She says she was arrested the following day on campus.
They just came to me and then they pointed me talking to each other that, is she the one? I'm not sure, is she the one? And someone said, yeah, she's the one. And then they said, let's go. I asked, where are we going? They said, no, you'll find out there. So I thought this was a misunderstanding, that they would realize that they made a mistake. Hence, I didn't make a scene or fight about it. So I just followed them and we went to Hillbrow police station.
She says she was detained there for 3 days, then moved to Johannesburg prison, where she spent another 4 days, and after another court appearance, spent 3 more days. She had to write an exam 2 days later after being released. Yonela says she is accused of having been present during this protest, and her parents were disappointed about her arrest.
They were shocked and angry at the same time because time and time again they warned me not to participate in the Fees Must Fall as any parent would. They had said, we understand the movement and we understand what it is about, but for your safety, please don't be involved. But you know how it is, we just went on and got involved.
Yonela dismissed the initial charges as baseless. They included arson, assault, and malicious damage to property. They were eventually dropped except for one, public violence.
I don't stay on campus. When that police car was burnt, or when that police guy was assaulted, I was already at home. So there was no way I could be there, part of the students who assaulted or burnt that police car. There has been a great impact because now I'm not studying due to funding, and last year I couldn't even write my exams in time because on the same day I had exams, I had to appear in court. And another thing, this case has been dragging on from 2016. And I wouldn't say I have fully recovered from this whole experience as a whole.
One Fees Must Fall activist's fight for justice went to the highest court in the land. It took the Court to release student leader Bonginkosi Khanyile on 250 Rand bail in March 2017 after his arrest in September of the previous year on 8 charges. He was a student at the Durban University of Technology.
So when they sent me to prison, it was not only me, they were arresting actually those who are not arrested and also trying to arrest an idea that, you see, if you continue this thing, this is what is going to happen to you.
He says that during the protests, the police were brutal towards students.
Many comrades were arrested, not even on the scene. They had lists, they had names of comrades. They will come in a residence and arrest. I remember one of our fellow fighter here, by Comrade Kazus, when I was in prison, they actually came to his house, raided his room, searched it, looked for him. He had to disappear, I think, for a week, for him not to be arrested. Even I, when I was arrested, they came, raided my room afterwards. When I was in prison now, took my laptop, took all gadgets, and said they are running an investigation. Now you ask yourself, if there's a protest, just a mere protest, on Fees to Fall, then why would you take a laptop of a person, raid his room, and as if there's some criminal element? So the manner in which they handled it, it was very brutal.
During his jail time here at the Westville prison, Bonginkosi managed to write his exams and pass. He says he was subjected to very harsh conditions.
I remember there was this one incident whereby I wrote my first exam paper inside, and the following exam paper I was supposed to write tomorrow, the following day. So when I came out from where I used to write an exam, and I was supposed to go back to my cells, and the books were kept inside my cells, another warden prisoner, he actually refused me and said, "You're not going inside. The prison is closed now. People are asleep. We normally sleep at 2 o'clock during the day." So I came after exams around 3. So he said, "You can't go and prepare for tomorrow's exam. You'll be kept with the newcomers in prison, and you'll wake up with the newcomers and go right again." So you couldn't prepare, but we're able to, with the, I think, heavens, we're able to write and pull through.
Bonginkosi's trial begins next month. He remains hopeful that he will not face imprisonment.
Most of the charges I have, if I'm found guilty, they say there won't be any option of a fine. I'll serve less than 3 years, but not more than 15 years. So we can only hope that I'm found not guilty.
Going forward, he doesn't know where his legal fees will come from.
High Court is fees they are very exorbitant. My case alone was around 500,000 and something. So there the organization which I am a card-carrying member of, the EFF, was able to intervene to that level. But currently, as months went by, I started to be dry in terms of legal. Currently I'm under, what to call this thing? Legal aid. I'm under legal aid. But we hope that someone who's good-hearted is going to intervene before I start my trial.
The state was accused of being hard on students because they viewed the movement as being funded by foreign parties who wanted to destabilize the country.
It undermined the fact that students on their own, independent of political organizations, although student political organizations were involved, but the students organized Fees Must Fall of their own accord because the issues that were at stake were fundamentally important. It didn't require some kind of external political force or some kind of international conspiracy to get the students to fight for free education.
Many Fees Must Fall student activists believe theirs was a just struggle. In December last year, former President Jacob Zuma announced that government would provide free higher education for poor and working class students, starting this year for first-year students at public universities. Some said this was political expediency, given the pressure he felt at the time. And considering that the Heya Commission previously concluded that the state was incapable of providing free education. Despite the hardships and criticisms, the students believe they changed the course of history.
So if we were to do it all over again, we're still going to do it even 10 times than we've done it before. Because our cause is genuine, is free decolonial education, is to say our people, young people especially, they must live in the land whereby they can have access to mineral wealth, they can access to land and live happily ever after. We're tired of poverty.
I don't have regrets because what we were fighting for, I still say it's a noble cause, of which it would have been beneficial for all of us. So I would do it again, perhaps with a different approach, but I would definitely do it again.
We're hoping that, you know, the state will change their position to say that, given that we have acceded to your position of fighting for free education, perhaps they will, you know, give us the presidential pardon, or, you know, there will be a political will to say that let's pardon all the activists that were convicted during the Fees Must Fall, those who were expelled, those who were suspended from their institutions, let them go finish their degrees.
If Cyril says he's a people's person, President Ramaphosa must stand up and give these kids presidential pardons. It's not up to the Minister of Higher Education, it's up to the President. If he's roaming around now the country saying, Tumamin, we are sending him right now to give these kids presidential pardons.
At the time of editing this documentary, the police had not responded to the allegations made against them. The presidency also did not respond to the question of a possible pardon for students.